Hello, good morning and welcome to everyone. Talking of recruitment, we're really looking today at preparing for the summer period, but I'm quite pleased the number of people who are actually looking forward as social care providers to preparing for the next period, the winter, and how difficult that's likely to be. It's going to bring us back into all the jabs, to flu jabs, to COVID jabs, probably to testing as well. And with summer, you've got the pressures of short-term attractive jobs at higher pay, and longer term, you've got people going off to work for the NHS and also work for the likes of Tesco's, etc. So the present situation with high inflation, low wages is not a good place to be. We all know how that's causing problems. And the joy of 9% plus inflation and a likely doubling of heating bills for next winter, that's really going to impact a lot of people in the social care workforce. And you know, a number of providers who are saying to me that their staff are already using food banks. And to be constructive about it, there's a huge amount of money available from the government, 1.36 billion for fair price for care. And local authorities are starting to talk to people. Some of you may already have had conversations with your local authority or local authorities about the price assessments. We'll do some more work on it. We've been asked to look at this for a number of local authorities. But please don't ignore anything that comes through to you about this. If you're not sure about it, talk to us, ask Dudley, ask myself, but do feedback information and make sure that you get the fee assessment documents correct. Don't make them too cheap. I know that we've got a couple of speakers with us already. We've got Patricia from Fulcrum, and we've also got Skills for Care with Selena Doherty. As Selena has to leave on the dot and early today, can I suggest that we move forward with Selena after Dudley has done any points he's got, and then we can fill the meeting up. Over to you, Dudley.
Thank you very much for that, and welcome everyone to the meeting. Once again, it's a pleasure to have you here. We are trying our best to keep you up to date as much as possible. And we know there's lots going on, and we also welcome any points you want to raise. This is either in today's chat room, or you can email us or contact us through the WhatsApp. We've also got Selena here as well, who's very helpful. So because we work across various patches, we also are involved with different information that works across your patches. So that could include anything from funding, any sort of offers that are being sort of given out by your local authorities as well. So please do get in touch with us. So any points that you also may want to raise and that you might want us to take forward, we can do. And there is lots of information here, and I will be sharing some other information as well in regards to overseas workforce as well, and overseas workers. So please do look out for that before the end. Other than that, I would just say just all the offers, all the things that you hear today, if you need to follow them up, please either contact the actual individual speakers or come back to us. They're always giving up their time to try and help and assist you. So everyone have a great meeting, and I will hear from you in the chat or your questions along the way. Thank you. I think it's Selena.
Selena, over to you. Do you want me to do your slides, or do you want to do your slides?
I'll see if I can share them, Peter, and then I can flick through.
Okay, just let me make you.
Just let me. All right, where are we? Here we go. Right, can everyone see those? I'm just trying to go on slideshow. Bear with me a moment. Oh. Sorry, I'm trying to go on slideshow, but my top bar is covering my bar. Bear with me a moment.
I'm not sure if you can try and go to the bottom bar at the bottom in the right-hand corner. There might be the option there for the slideshow as well. If you can, that sometimes works as well.
No, it's not there. Actually, Peter, maybe it would be better if you shared them. I think because I'm not host, it's not allowing me to go into slideshow. Do you mind sharing them for me? Bear with us, folks.
In the meanwhile, just thanks for everyone for coming along. Skills for Care are always very helpful. There's lots of new offerings. If you actually go onto their website, which is fairly new, not brand new, but they're updating and changed the way they sort of like looked at their website. So please go and visit their website. There is a raft of information there, training offers, and I think we're going to get some of them here along the way once I think Peter opens it up. Eventually, I believe.
Okay, sorry,
You got them?
Can you see them?
Yep.
Okay.
But we've got them in same sharing mode. So I think once you open up.
There we go. Okay, thanks.
Okay.
No, that's not the right ones, Peter. Sorry. That's
these are the ones you sent over the other day.
Right, but can you unshare those and I'll send you the one I should have sent you. Sorry about this.
Okay, let's come out of those.
The famous lines: never work with children, animals, and technology.
I have been off for a week, Dudley. That's probably what's I'm having brain fog. Right, Peter, I'm sending them now.
Okay, I mean, I think maybe if whilst you sent that, Celine, is there anything you want to add? Because I know you probably know them off by head, so there might be some information whilst Peter sort of like gets it ready.
I mean, basically, so what we've been talking about amongst other networks that we're plotting out for the year is recruitment is on everybody's lips at the moment, and it has been for a while. It's not an easy topic. It's not easy to solve, and there is a bit of a crisis. And as Peter says, you know, when we're looking at the costs that are going up for everybody and the salaries, you know, for social care are never the best, then we need to be thinking about really creative ways of how we do recruitment and how we can make our organisations more enticing to young people and, you know, other people that may not traditionally join the sector. So we're going to be focusing, you know, recruitment is obviously at the top of the list with Skills for Care. We cover a great many topics, but recruitment and retention is one of the ones that we talk about the most in trying to support you to recruit in creative ways. As Peter mentioned, where there is funding coming out of the government, there's funding for training and development in social care. We're hoping that some of that funding will be able to be used creatively in terms of, you know, how it is devolved around social care providers and how you are allowed to actually utilise the funding in creative ways to support your recruitment and retention. So do look out for that. Okay, that's the right slides now, Peter. Thank you so much. Okay, so, you know, as we know, the COVID pandemic made recruitment even more difficult. You know, there was not only a sort of recruitment crisis, but also capacity challenges for you as providers, as people were isolating, shielding, going off sick. and trying to recruit new people into the sector when really we didn't want new people coming into our organisations because of COVID. So if we can move on, Peter. Okay, so when we're talking about sort of recruitment, some of these might seem really, really obvious, but it is really important to think about, you know, perhaps moving away from the usual ways that you recruit. You know, evidence has shown us that just putting on recruitment adverts onto these massive job sites don't work. You end up with loads and loads of CVs that you know, with people that aren't really serious about wanting the jobs. So there are various initiatives that are going on all the time with regards to recruitment, and it is worth speaking to the job centre. I don't know if many of you have heard of sector-based work academies, and this is where local further education colleges are running health and social care courses. They're running short courses for people who have been out of employment for a while or are struggling to find employment. And they often will need placements in care providers and with a potential to be recruited. Now, you will have heard me for years now constantly asking for placements in social care providers from students at health and social care courses and people that are doing these kind of sector-based work academy courses as well. And I would really, really urge you to think about taking people on placement. We know that COVID isn't going away, and it's still a risk to have people coming in and out of your provisions, or whatever it is that your organisation does. But it is really, really important to be looking at the potential of students and possible people that don't have experience or skills in the sector, but will be able to learn and will be able to grow within your organisations. So do think about that as an option. And the job centre and the local colleges will be able to tell you all about those. Okay, local authorities are more and more now organising recruitment programmes. They have job brokers now who are actively working with organisations to place people into jobs. That is only their job at the council, and that is what they do. Now, I know, for example, Kensington and Chelsea recently ran a massive jobs fair, careers fair. They're running another one in the summer. They've had particular difficulties with getting people into the home care area of social care. And so they are really, really focusing on job brokerage, trying to find people jobs and working with providers and job seekers. So it is worth speaking to your local authority and finding out who your job broker is, if they have a job brokerage scheme. Most of them will, in fact, probably all of them do now. I've mentioned colleges and universities. You know, students from the age of 16 to 18, they're on health and social care courses. They perhaps don't know what the direction is. Often at Skills for Care, we go and talk to students about the sector and try and sort of dispel some of the myths in terms of what the sector is about and what it's like to work in social care. So they're already prepared when they leave college, or they're coming up to leaving college, as to the different options of jobs that there are and job roles that there are. So think about getting in touch with your local colleges, you know, that run health and social care courses, and saying, look, we've got these jobs available. Would your students like to come along and have a chat with us? You know, open yourselves up. I see certainly around where I live, you know, some of the care homes have open days where they invite people to come in and have a look around, you know, have a look around the organisation, see what it's like, and think about coming to work here. What I often say to students is, and job seekers, is if you are thinking about a job in social care, or you've seen a job advertised at one of your provisions, phone the organisation, speak to the manager and ask about the job. So think about that as a gateway, you know, think about actually talking to people before they take the trouble to apply. And, you know, as I said, have open days, invite people into your organisations, go along to job centres and show your faces and say, we've got these jobs available and we'd love to speak to some of your job seekers or your students. Okay, there's a massive, massive pool of people out there that has untapped potential. Okay. There's also things like the Prince's Trust, you know, organisations like this, charities that work with young people who have perhaps had to leave education because they're not getting on at school, or they're not, you know, they're not managing to find work, and they work with people to support them into the sector. So again, the Prince's Trust is another option to get in touch with. Okay. We have a number of resources on our website. In fact, something that Laura and myself were working on a couple of years ago, Laura, you'll recall this, was the Seeing Potential project. And this is trying to promote your jobs to people, as I said, that may not necessarily have the skills or experience in social care, but are ready to get into work. They want to get into work. It could be somebody who's maybe had a criminal record, you know, donkeys years ago. It could be someone who's perhaps been out of work for a number of years doing childcare or looking after a relative. And they often find it really difficult to find work because they can't get a reference, or they don't have a very recent job reference to rely on. So it's really, really important we encourage you as providers to see the potential out there of pools of people that are looking for work. I mean, obviously you don't need, you know, you don't have to take every Joe Blogs on that is looking for a job, but it's about seeing the potential of where people have got transferable skills, or where people have a genuine want and, you know, desire and the right values to want to support people and work in your organisations, looking after people, enabling people and empowering people to live full lives. So it's really important that you see the potential, and we can support you with some of that as well. Okay, next slide, please, Peter. The slides are more of a prompt for me. We will send you the slides after, so don't worry about writing too many notes or, you know, reading everything on the slides. Okay. So, you know, linking with other care providers and these kind of networks, you know, the registered managers networks. I mean, in Northwest London, there are 7. In Southwest London, Laura has a number of networks as well. You know, go along to the networks, speak to other providers about what they're doing. You know, Dudley mentioned earlier about sharing tips, and yes, 3 networks in Southwest London, sharing tips with each other. What works for you? What works well for you? I mean, yes, all right, you're all different organizations, and there is a you know, element of competition, but at the same time, there's an element of really good networking and sharing that can go on with you as providers. Use these networks to speak to others and find out what they're doing. You know, get in touch with people on the WhatsApp group. That's what the WhatsApp group is for. You know, there's been some excellent questions on some of my networks from provider to provider. You know, quite often you guys are the ones with the answers. And we don't always have all the answers because we're not on the ground doing what you're doing. So speak to your colleagues. Okay, an example of an employment service, Croydon Works, for example, supporting people who are having difficulties getting jobs or perhaps need employability skills. They need to have help with writing CVs or job applications, who are looking for work. They're work ready. Find out who your local employment services are. I know round where I am in Surrey, and Peter will know this, there's a number of charities who just focus on supporting people to get back to work. So find out who they are. Richmond Fellowship is a big one, for example. There will be people that are work ready who may be slightly disadvantaged or may have been out of work for some time with illness, who are ready to get back to work. Okay. You've got obviously the free job work boards. You know, there's been, I think, 3 campaigns now coming out of the Department of Health and Social Care in terms of major recruitment campaigns for social care. You know, we've recently had recruitment campaigns that have appeared on the media, on TV and radio. Find out who, you know, where if the campaign is still running, and, you know, how to get your jobs for free on the job boards. Okay. Voluntary sector organisations is another one. You know, there are many organisations out there. I've just mentioned 1 or 2 who have people who are work ready. Okay, there's a couple of points coming up in the chat which I haven't had a chance to look at yet, but I'm going to have a quick look now. Students cause a lot of issues, experience most issues face students once they're on benefits. Students are prone to calling off shifts at every chance they get. Yep, that can be an issue. What I would say to that, and thank you, that's a really good point, is, you know, it is about induction. It is about how you organize the students' work. It is about, you know, not throwing them in at the deep end, ensuring that they have a mentor or a buddy that they can shadow when they come in, and that they get really, really well nurtured when they first come into the organization. Start them slowly and blend them in gradually. I was a social care student once, and I remember my very first experience of being on placement was a real tough one. And nearly put me off social care, actually. And that was purely because I was treated just like another member of staff, a junior member of staff. Come in, do the job, get on with it. With no major induction process, no warning about some of the challenges and some of the pitfalls you can come across, and, you know, no real insight or training into what the job involves. So that is really, you know, students can work very, very well if you give them a really good induction process. Laura's put another point in there: organisations like Kingston Work, Match, etc. Thanks, Laura. Was there any other points in the chat that I might have missed? Yeah, so as Dudley says, there are a range of job roles in social care, and this is what we talk to students about, actually, that try and break down this idea of what social care is. I know in my own career, I've done several jobs in social care that have all been very interesting and challenging in themselves. Okay, so if we can move on then. As you will probably know, and we've talked about before, we do have a whole suite of resources on values-based recruitment and retention, including free workshops, seminars, webinars that you can listen to if you are struggling to recruit. Okay, Peter, thanks. Okay, we have recently run a series of workshops, some of you might have attended, on recruiting via social media. And we do have guidance and support on our website. I don't know if you've looked at our website recently, but it has been restructured and rejigged. And personally, I find it a lot easier to find things on there now. It's a lot more straightforward. So if you haven't looked at our website lately, do please look under the recruitment section and also support for registered managers section. You will find an awful lot of information and help and free resources to support your recruitment and retention issues. Okay, so if we can move on, Peter. I won't talk too much about the social media workshops, but we did have introductions to using social media as well as maximizing social media for recruitment. And I really would urge you, if you're not using social media at the moment, i.e. Facebook, Twitter, and all those other ones, Instagram and so on, to support your recruitment initiatives, then you really do need to get onto that, because everybody is looking at social media and LinkedIn and so on when it comes to looking for jobs. So do think about that. And if you need any more support, you can ask us and we can point you in the right direction for that. Care Friends, I know 2 of my local authorities have got the Care Friends apps now. They've bought into it. And it's free for providers, but the Care Friends app is also really good for, you know, recommend a friend, and your staff get points and incentives for doing that. So I won't talk too much about that because we have had talks at this forum before about Care Friends, but there is some more information on the Care Friends website. Okay, Peter. Okay. So thinking about how you attract, you know, better quality applications, and I know it is frustrating. Providers have spoken to me many times about how frustrating it is when they get lots and lots and lots of applications and CVs, and then people don't follow through on it. You know, they can have up to 80 CVs or applications sent, and maybe 2 people come for interview. And that is really, really frustrating. So it is really, really important that you attract better quality applications. So be really, really clear about what the job involves. You know, it cannot just be support worker required with, you know, this qualification or this experience. It doesn't explain it at all. Think about really promoting your organisation. You know, you are selling your organisation. It is not a privilege to recruit people to your organisation. It's a necessity. So it is really, really important that you promote what your organisation does, and it's very, very clear about what the benefits are of working for your organisation. If you do extra little incentives, or even things like well-being initiatives or anything like that, make sure you put it in your job adverts. Really, really sell yourselves. And sharpen up. I mean, there's a line that says sharpen up your recruitment message. So be really, really clear and succinct about what it is you're looking for. And when we talk about values-based recruitment, we talk about, you know, what are the behaviours you want? What are the attitudes you want? It doesn't necessarily, to work in social care, you don't necessarily have to have a background in social care, or somebody may have done a different type of job in social care and they wouldn't want to switch their career. I know I did that. I was working with one particular client group and then I completely switched and went to work in mental health. And I didn't have any experience of mental health. But it was about the values and the behaviours that you're looking for. What attributes are you looking for from this person? Okay, and we do have an awful lot on values-based recruitment on our website, a lot of resources that you can tap into to think about the qualities that you're looking for rather than necessarily the experience and skills and qualifications. Do you offer flexible working patterns? I know this is what often attracts people into home care, domiciliary care type work or supported living type work, is the fact that there can be a degree of flexibility in the hours. So what do you offer? What would attract me to come and work for your organisation? What am I going to get out of it, as well as a job and some pay? Okay, so it's really, really important that you think about how you really market your organisation. And if you are thinking about doing up some new job adverts or thinking about amending your recruitment procedures, you know, we can support you with that as well. And certainly Peter and Dudley, that's what they're there for as well in their roles. You know, we can support you, we can help you by looking at your recruitment ads and perhaps giving you some top tips. Okay, so moving on, please, Peter. Okay, so this is, you know, I've just put a link there to our recruiting resources on the website. So on that link, you will find information on planning, how you're going to do your recruitment. Are you going to have an open day? Are you going to invite people to come in for a chat? Are you going to have an assessment day? Some organisations do assessment days where they might get 4 or 5 people to come in, and then you do a kind of round robin sort of thing where you're doing an activity with people or asking them to present. You know, there are different ways to recruit. It doesn't always have to be the same old bog standard. You know, someone applies, you interview them, you give them the job, they don't turn up, or you give them the job and they do turn up and they leave after 2 weeks. Think about how you're going to get people interested in staying with you, coming to you and staying with you. On that link, you'll also find how to attract people, the application and selection process, how to retain people once you get them in the door, and also a series of workshops and seminars that we have run or we have recorded to support you with your recruitment. Yes, we'll definitely send over the slides. Don't worry about that. Thanks. Okay, next slide, please, Peter.
Can I ask how many more slides you're going to run through, Selena?
No, I think that might be it, but I just want to check myself because I think that might be the end of the recruitment ones. Okay, so the rest of the slides, I know we're a bit limited to time because we've got other speakers. So the rest of the slides are our usual skills for care updates. What I do want to mention once again is if you're not on our adult social care workforce data set, you are missing out. This is an example of the types of benefits that you can get, including free training, free qualifications and funding. So if you're not already registered on ASC WDS, please get in touch with us. Either myself or Laura can support you through that. We can talk you through how to get onto it. And there is a link there which takes you through step by step how to get onto ASC WDS. It is really important that you register with that. Other than that, the rest of the slides are updates, Peter. I'm very happy for those to be sent. If we don't have time to go through them, that's not a problem at all.
Okay, great, thanks. I think there must be, let me just drop. I think there ought to be some questions, some points here, and a couple of things that I would throw into the mix. Selina mentioned social media. I gather that McDonald's have spent something over $1 million on TikTok, advertising successfully for staff. If McDonald's are doing it, there has to be a reason. We're also seeing a lot of people outsourcing recruitment, which, okay, it's a cost, but it saves you a lot of time. And when we've talked to people who have been recruited or looked at being recruited, they've put their CV in or applied for a job and no one's contacted them for a week or more. That's hopeless. They'll have gone somewhere else. Students, we get lots of complaints about students, but then they do need mentoring, they do need help. And I appreciate that it's very difficult at the moment with the fee structure, that there's very little money to cover things like that. And CQC will be on your back about training, about quality of staff. And they'll also, again, Selina mentioned co-working with other providers. You are going to have to co-work, as many of you are small providers, to cover your business continuity policy. So you may as well combine things like recruitment, because you can save costs, it's more efficient. And local authorities, as part of the fair price for care, will be looking at the efficiencies that social care providers use and make. That's my three pennyworth at the moment. Have we got any questions for Selina or points from Dudley?
Just one point to add to that, everyone. I think every organisation is different, we come in different sizes. Don't be scared to get a consultant in, even to help you to look at your business and your business model, because different areas require different requirements. So please do look into that. It may cost you an initial sum, but it may help you in the long run. So don't be scared to spend some money and actually to attract. There are so many different ways to make yourself so attractive. One thing we do know is that healthcare is a job for life. So that's why we're all here, I think. So any questions from the audience, please do come in or ask a question. Also, as one other point, Sina did mention about the ASC WDS funding. We'll be speaking to Skills for Care and probably trying to arrange maybe a masterclass with that, because I think a lot of people don't have the time and struggle on how to fill it out. So we may be able to providing something along that line as well, which is probably quite important.
I think Dave Vincent's with us this morning. So have you got any words of wisdom?
Hello. Hello, sorry, what was that? On the...
I just wonder if you've got any words of wisdom on ASC.
Oh, okay.
And WDF.
Yes, well, it's the Workforce Development Fund, if anyone out there is not aware, is a fund of money that's provided by Skills for Care to help reclaim the cost of some of the training that you can do with your staff. I am the lead partner of the South West London WDF partnership, and you can, through me and the partnership, you can help access this funding. But a prerequisite of accessing the funding is to do the ASC WDS data return. So it's a useful thing to do for your own workforce planning and training records, but it's a prerequisite if you want to access the funding. If anyone wants to know anything more about the funding, you can get in touch with me. We're in the very last week of funding for this contract year, which ends at the end of May 2022. But we're very much hoping there'll be another contract next year with some money to spend on training.
I would say, thanks, David, there won't be more money unless we spend the money. Okay, so we do have to spend the money to get the money.
Yeah.
And, you know, the Workforce Development Fund, traditionally in the time that I've been known about it, is sometimes it's underspent, you know, because you guys are not making the most of it. So it doesn't take much to log on to adult social care workforce data set. It really is very easy to set yourself up an account. As I said, Laura and myself are very happy to talk you through that if you want to do it. And that is the way that you get the funding, free training and development and qualifications. So please use it so we don't lose it. Basically.
Yeah, and the funding there in this last couple of years has been really, really helpful. Like the online training for managers and e-learning modules, which are very, very useful, especially for aspiring managers or people quite new to the role. And each module only takes like half an hour to do. There's 11 modules, and you can claim back £500–600, you know, to offset the time that people are spending on doing this. And it's useful knowledge. It's really worth doing. So that's just one example of the training that's available. Also, upskilling your care workers, either with typically people have used it to do the level 2 diplomas in health and social care, or then the level 3, level 4, level 5. But there's also smaller certificates and awards in dementia or end of life care, which really useful qualifications. And effectively free to you as a care organisation. But you know, you have to jump through a few hoops with this ASC data set in order to access the funds. But it's it really should be part of your workforce planning and your training budgets for the year. So yeah, if you're not already involved, please contact me and I'll give you more information. Thank you.
You can put your information in the chat box. That'd be great, David.
Okay. Yeah.
Also as well, how long have we got left, or have they got left to probably access it?
Well, as I say, the funding year normally runs from ostensibly from April to March, like a financial year. Yeah. This year, the closing date was extended to the 31st of May, so it's next week. So I can't take on any new partners at this point. If you're an existing partner and you have suddenly found you've done some training, you've got some certificates available to claim for, you'd have to get them to me this week. But in terms of next year's contract, every year I have to bid for the contract, so I've done that, I've made my bid, and we should hear in June, July time whether or not that's been successful and how much money they're going to allocate for me, at which point I'll be doing a big campaign to make sure everybody knows about it. And
we'll get you back in, David, by that time, so don't worry about that. So once you've been successful, let us know. We'll get you to be a main speaker and probably do it alongside the masterclass as well.
Yeah, because we're looking to do something around September time, a specific meeting just focused on WDF.
Okay, yeah.
So that will be good. And on the ASC front, every time we talk to the DH or local authorities, we are asked for data, and it is vital that social care providers do fill in data documents such as the tracker and ASC, and even it will come up at the next meeting again, because we have someone from the DH coming to talk really on behalf of what was Public Health England. We'll come back to that later, but data is absolutely vital, and it lacks in social care. And training, you know, we don't need to tell you how much concentration CQC inspections and local authority quality monitoring people put on to training. It is vital. And the type of training that you get funded through WDF is good training. And some of the training is that people fund themselves is very poor, very low quality. Anything else for Selina or about WDF? Okay, Patricia. Talk to me, Patricia. We have with us, hopefully, Patricia from Fulcrum Care.
guys hear me?
Hello.
Hello. Technicality again, an issue. So I'll just put the video on. Hi, I'm here.
Good, good, good. Right. Patricia from Fulcrum. No, let me start that again. Fulcrum Care is a well-known social care consultancy, and they do a lot around quality, a lot around CQC. They've got some very experienced people, and Patricia's going to give you a few examples of problems they've come across and how they've resolved or worked towards resolving those issues. Over to you, Patricia.
Hi, morning everybody. It's quite a nice quote I can see online, and lovely to join your forum, Peter and Dudley, and thanks for inviting Fulcrum to talk about a little bit about what we do. So Fulcrum is a care consultancy. We have an array of in our team, all qualified in various sectors in health and social care, business management, operation, banking, lawyers, you name it. So it's a one-stop shop where you can have a lot of skills to tap in. I'll pick on what Dudley said earlier on about if you want to review your business model, look at consultancy. It is a one-off cost. We can have a review, give you pointers, help you to probably address some organizational or some ongoing issues within a consultation. So our details will be forwarded to you. What Fulcrum has excelled in for the last, this week we celebrated our fifth anniversary. What we've noticed is a lot of care homes contact us at the last minute when they've been downgraded. Yes, we can turn around care home, we can support with getting you back on track. The issue here is how do you sustain that? We give you a lot of mentoring and management support. We signpost you, for example, we work a lot with Skills for Care, which is on the line today. When I say we work a lot, it means that we signpost you to them because they provide a lot of training, advice, a lot of resources on how to achieve good or outstanding, keep up to date with them. But also we put a plan for you, and there's always an online support that you can kind of rely on. The theme of what we've observed lately, mainly post-pandemic, you've covered it a lot, you're not going to talk about that, is recruitment. But what is leading to recruitment is we've seen a lot of staff being unaware of the regulation of what Chloe means, what CQC is looking for when they're working in a care home. There's a lot, somebody, I think Peter said that, about staff behaviors and attitude on the job that you need to capture in your recruitment process. We are taking people, yes, we've opened the doors to overseas recruitment, more than welcome to do that. During that process of having them working for you, get them, signpost them to a lot of cultural awareness. How we work in the UK is totally different to how we work to the rest of the world. And I think when we are capturing, when we are encouraging people to join the UK workforce, mainly the health and social care sector, we need to let them know about that. We are a regulated activity. We are regulated by CQC. Any failure in their behaviors is going to cost them either their PIN number if they are a nurse. They might have been a nurse abroad, but they need to work alongside their code of practice in the UK. Here, I'm going to talk to managers. We have seen, and with all due respect to their nursing background, a lot of managers with nursing background join the manager's role, the registered manager's role. They need to understand and appreciate. I mean, I've been a manager for over 16 years. and my first experience was the CQ, it was CSCI at that time. When I did my interview, two of the registration inspectors told me, you now know that you have a marriage certificate with us. And that was the expression then. And they said, you are now being regulated. Failure to provide what the standards are will rely on your shoulders. And I think those were powerful words for me personally. And wherever I go into a home, I keep on telling managers, you are responsible and accountable to those regulations. Get to know them. It's not, for example, when we talk about quality assurance, which Fulcrum support a lot of care home with. We support a lot of care home with understanding what is quality assurance, what is an audit. It's not just a ticking box. CQC doesn't want to see tick boxes.
She did.
I think somebody has got their, I think we are okay now. CQC doesn't want to see tick boxes. CQC wants to see evidence. What is your evidence? And that's what we support managers with. We support you also. I know Skills for Care provide free training. We provide you with bespoke training. And the bespoke training continues with what we call some sort of mentoring and coaching as well in various areas, whether it be clinical, we have a team of clinical people, whether we're assessing your nurses' competency, we have clinical people to do that, because we need to remind the staff, our workforce, that they are all working under regulation. And once we get that clear, we are aiming then towards a upskill workforce, managers with a good leadership, because leadership is one of the main bugbear in the sector at the moment. We believe we've got, one would like to believe that they have the leadership needed to do the job, and they get the job, attracted by so many zeros in the case package they are offered, and then once they start the job, oops, the delusion goes away, and they realize it's very stressful. But as Serena said, they have registered managers network, tap into that. If you purchase anything from Fulcrum, be mindful that that ongoing mentoring and coaching support is there. So the other thing I would like to highlight today is safeguarding puts people off. Safeguarding is the care sector, puts people off. I strongly advise managers on the floor, on the line today, if you are not aware of your safeguarding procedure, get in touch with your local authority. Follow their safeguarding and make sure it aligns with yours. This is a tip that we've given to so many managers, and then they realize, oops, their safeguarding policy doesn't align to the local one. Doesn't even align to probably the regulation or what Chloe is asking. Chloe, I guess everybody knows what Chloe stands for today, I'm assuming. So these are the theme. With safeguarding, it's intertwined with all the 5 areas of Chloe. If you don't deal with safeguarding, you will not be effective, you will not be caring, you will not be responsive, and as an organization, you will not be well led. It is, for me, I'll say it, I'll carry on saying it to any managers or any team members I come across, know your role and responsibility in this sector. Fulcrum has had a lot of success stories where care homes were closing, team of 2, 3, 5, depending on the urgency of the project that we take on, and the team is always available to support depending on what the urgency is. A 5-minute free consultation to our team, and I think Nicole is on the call at the moment. Nicole is our salesperson. She will take your call and she will direct you to anything you would need to know. Here's Nicole. Hi, Nicole. We have our CEO, Tony, who has a lot of contacts in terms of how to address your business model, how to operate. So there's an array of professionals. We have CQC inspectors in our team. So there's an array of professionals on our team. And we have a lot of success stories. Our website tells it all. So if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
Thank you for that, Patricia. It's really great. I think in this day and age, I'm not sure if you've finished yet, but in this day and age, we have so much or so many things going on. I think the question is for a lot of providers now, we are almost coming out of the pandemic, is where do they start? Because it's almost as if we're starting from scratch again and trying to align ourselves with things that happen with CQC. And I think CQC is probably one of the first places you should go to, or to their website. They do send out some letters and information because things are changing, and really getting yourself up to speed is really important. What you were doing yesterday is probably different from today. And I think a lot of people are quite confused. So that's a starting point, I do say, for everyone. Spend some time doing that.
And I will echo that, Dudley, because if you don't keep up to date with the changes in legislation and national guidelines, you will miss that train. And when CQC is knocking on the door, you will say, well, I wasn't aware of that. Sign up to your local authority mailing system. They keep you updated. COVID is one of them. Make sure you get that right. Little tips on make sure you work collaboratively with your local team. They will signpost you in the right direction. As I said, Fulcrum works nationwide. We are not just based in London, Norfolk. We work nationwide. And our team, once you put that first call, they will direct you to the right consultant. So, for example, within Fulcrum, I provide quality assurance. I do a lot of when I support managers, I do a lot of how your audit should be structured. And I think a lot of my colleagues do the same thing. We pull things together for you, and then we give you that support, which is audit, quality assurance, good governance. Additionally, my background is I'm also specialized in managing behavior associated with dementia. So that's a service. It is on our website, but we also provide bespoke training. We use evidence-based training to inform what type of bespoke training we provide. When I say bespoke, and I'm not here saying that don't follow Skills for Care, please do, because Skills for Care are the regulated one, not the regulated one, the recommended one. However, if you are a big organization, you will have probably a learning and development officer or practice development officer in your premises. But if you are a small provider, the training needs to be adapted to your home, to your population you're caring for, and to your staff audience as well. If your staff is mixed up with different learning styles, this is done. We also tailor it to your needs.
Just leaving, I'm not sure if you're open for any questions for the audience that want to actually speak to Patricia. She's here right now, and I guess our 5 minutes of consultation time is beginning, because she says we only have 5 minutes. So no, but please, anyone who has any questions, I've got a question that I'll ask, but anyone who wants to ask a question, you can ask Patricia directly, or put a question in the chat, which would be great.
We also have Tony, our CEO, who's just joined us. He's put his camera on, and that's open to questions. Please fire away.
Dudley, thank you. If I can just say something just for this forum. So I'm Tony Thiru. I work with Patricia and Nicole, and we have a team of just under 20 people. I just wanted to say, firstly, thank you once again to Peter and Dudley for allowing us the opportunity to be here. But I also wanted to say, we know that, it can be quite, can be slightly lonely being what we all do as registered managers. Every one of us on the field at Fulcrum has been a registered manager not long ago. So, and we know it always helps to have a sounding board. So if you have anything that you wanted to ask at any point in time, and this is something we'll offer to LCaS colleagues, please feel free to ring us and ask. We may be able to give you an answer fairly quickly. So it's not that we are not like, we're not a firm of solicitors, and I have the greatest respect for solicitors. We don't do everything on the clock, shall we say. So, but we will, be very happy to answer some really basic questions. We might have a tool that might be able to help you. So again, with the consent of Peter and Dudley on this, that offer is open to everyone here, but we're open for questions. So thank you.
Thanks for that, Tony.
A point I would make is, I could be wrong here, but I suspect that none of us service our own cars anymore, and we all have someone that comes in to fix the photocopier or the IT. And it strikes me as odd that in social care, so many providers are loath to bring in an expert to do something. And CQC will tell you that you've got whatever it is, 500 items of responsibility as a registered manager, and you can't be good at all of them. So, save your own time, your own stress, and your own worry, and get somebody in. And Tony and I have had many discussions about solicitors, probably because neither of us are rich as solicitors, but if you ring a solicitor, they will generally give you 10 minutes free advice, which is very useful. And most consultancy operations will also give you 10, 20 minutes of their time for free. And that, as Tony said, or Dudley will tell you, is a useful sounding board, and take that opportunity. And sometimes, yes, you can spend money with a solicitor or an accountant, but it's a form of expertise, and you gain from that. It's not a cost, it's an investment. But as you've got, a raft of experienced people here, are there any questions you'd like to throw at these guys before we move on to what is actually a subject that Patricia mentioned, and that's auditing through data, because more and more quality monitoring, either via a local authority or through CQC, will be done remotely. So if your IT system and your IT skills are not up to that, your organization will be completely, at a negative.
I've got a question, which is, what's the actual main area that people have contacted you on, I guess, and now the pandemic is slowing down, or what's been the most common theme that people have come to you with, would be a question I would ask.
Shall I answer that, Patricia? Thank you, Dad.
Thanks.
So typically there's been a lot of CQC has been on the rampage in the past, since the pandemic, since summer of 2020, and we've had lots of care home closure notices coming in. We've had Section 31 notices come in where immediate action required, so where action is required within 12 to 24 hours even at best. So a lot of the responsive work that we do, so this is where we've had to get involved. So we've just before Christmas, we had somebody having a Section 31 notice landing on a Friday afternoon, late afternoon. We had to dispatch 3 of our colleagues over the weekend and then come up with an action plan on Monday morning so that CQC would not progress with that Section 31 action. So enforcement notices typically, so a lot of responsive work, as we call it, where people need help to respond to something very quickly because there is some regulatory action or something with the local authority. Of course, people ask us to come and do a mock inspection because, you know, they're expecting CQC to come back and carry out a mock inspection. So certainly that is also something that comes up. More typically, we are coming across, or more recently, we are coming across scenarios where people are saying, oh, look, our occupancy isn't doing very well. Do you have any thoughts on that? How can you help? But yeah, we are known for the responsive work. Dudley, thank you. Thank you for the question. It's very relevant.
Has anyone got any other questions? These are experts who will probably be able to give you the answers. You can always put something in the chat, or I can ask a question away. You know, as we said, it's very interesting. Everyone has their own situation scenario, and we know some of the major sort of concerns that have been across there. It can be clinical, I guess, where a lot of people are probably querying about PPEs, visitors coming in. You know, there's been a raft of different changes that we've had to encounter, and really trying to find your way is really key. Also, as well, we do have dom care in the building as well, so there are lots of concerns around dom care and how that's being managed, staffing, and really meeting sort of the staff quota as well. So there is so many things that we could pick and call on. So it would be interesting about that.
I think one of the things that I'm sure Tony and Patricia have come across, and Dudley and I have talked about anyway, is CQC FACAC. And when factual accuracy documents come in and you think, hang on, I don't know anything about this, this doesn't seem to relate to my recent inspection, there's a very limited time to actually respond. There are ways one has to respond, but also if you aren't aware of those issues from the vocal discussion after the meeting, after the inspection, then there's a problem there to address. Now, I think it's fair to say that CQC would like to see less time allocated to FACAC responses, and most consultancies, most people like Dudley or myself that deal with things like this, we'd like to see more time. And it's a real problem where there is this communication mismatch between what the inspector thinks has happened and the manager thinks has happened. And getting that sorted out can actually be a piece of mediation, because you can have two people, excuse me, who are both saying, no, this is what was said. No, that wasn't what was said. You're not going to get anywhere like that, particularly with CQC, because they do have the whip hand. So reaching some sort of compromise is actually vital to your business, to your organization. It's the only way it's going to carry on going forward.
And there's one thing I'd like to add to that, Peter, thank you for it, is Tony mentioned we do a lot of responsive work. What we would like to see is a bit more of proactive work. The proactive work is we have a team behind the scene, Nicole is part of them, that takes your call. And again, that 15 minutes consultation is free. Seize it, because we can come to you, do a mock inspection, put something in place, identify any issue that you might have that flagged up during that mock inspection, put an action plan for you, and let's say in the next week you have a CQC inspection. They would see you've been proactive, and that's what we would like to see a little bit more.
Another quick question before you go, and you probably will have a lot of providers who probably don't want to say it, but some people obviously have a certain rating at the moment. They want to try and improve their rating. What can people do to get CQC to be attracted so they can enter be re-inspected? And I think it's a question that a lot of people, once they've gone and they've paid they've got the wonderful advice from Fulcrum, now how can they get CQC to come in and give them what they want to rise up?
Okay, thank you, Dudley. I'm sure Patricia will have a lot to add on this. I think if you've got an inadequate, that's the best place to be because, the CQC will be coming in sooner than later. So you've got, they'll be back within 6 months to see it. If your requires improvement, it's a bit harder, obviously, because, the timelines, your somewhere in the middle from a risk rating point of view with CQC. So, but I think giving, having that communication with the CQC inspector, regular contact, having a planned way of doing it. So, probably fortnightly or monthly, but do it in a planned manner, and then share the positive evidence. I think that would go a long way. So it's develop that relationship with the CQC inspector, so that they know what's happening, but at the same time, then you're in a better position to proactively manage that relationship, shall we say. And you can also, having a less than ideal rating, so having a requires improvement rating could also mean that your business could possibly be affected. So, occupancy, referrals, inquiries could be affected. So there's a business case for that as well. And business case is then also related to sustainability. Sustainability is not just about quality, it's about the commercial viability as well. So I think there are ways of pitching that across to say, look, we need to come back sooner than later. We've, again, an action plan is always a good tool an objective tool to say, this is where we are today. So use whatever forms of communication to manage those expectations with CQC and get them back in. Just going back to a point, if I may, Dudley and Peter, if I may go back to the point that Peter made earlier on about the factual accuracy process. I was just going to say, if you've had an inspection today, always ask for that inspection summary, which comes in after that feedback session, because if it has any negatives, don't wait for the factual accuracy. Don't wait for the draft report to come in and then start the factual accuracy. Manage it from day one. So, so from the time CQC comes in, if there are any concerns that are highlighted during the verbal feedback, then pick up on that and proactively engage with CQC, give them the evidence to assure them that these matters are either being addressed, which is a bit later in the day, but at least you can assure them that you have addressed those matters. Or if there are, if you have evidence that CQC had not seen, then send them that evidence sooner than later. So it's that that process starts for me. I think it starts before the draft report comes, because once it's on writing in a draft report, then it becomes much harder to challenge. So I would probably turn, flip the model on the factual accuracy process and try and manage that process earlier than later, if I may add that as well.
One thing I would just throw in at that point about if you are RI and that is affecting your business, say with local authorities, because we are getting back to a more normal operating process with CQC, if you ask your inspector, they will come in if you can put in writing that, say, whichever local authority will not give you business because you've got an RI. But do not just ask them back in if you haven't done anything. You need to have your action plans in place, and you need to be able to evidence that you've done whatever you needed to do to get past the problem from the previous inspection.
Very important. And I think as well, another point to add is we always are thinking about, and I think Patricia touched upon this, but being actually proactive. You have things such in the past, obviously, where PIR was actually something to tell you that the inspection was coming. Now, you can use it actually as a model of showcasing how well you're doing it as a yardstick. So things like that are really important. And then if you're, really going through it, so you cover across all the areas in your business as well, I would say as well.
And as Dudley will say in a couple of minutes, getting your digital transformation right, so you can make it easier for CQC or whoever to access the evidence. If someone's got to work really hard for something, they're going to be less prone to be positive for you. If it's easier for them and it's really simple, then why not?
And you're right on this one, Peter, because one of the regulators, or Chloe, says evidence are easily accessible. So when CQC is coming on your premises and they have to wait or filter through a lot of folders to get evidence, they will go back to the point that you do not have a robust quality assurance in place. So when they are asking you evidence, they want you to do this. That's your filing cabinet. They want you to do, oh yes, these are my evidence. You pull it, you give it to them. Not you asking, oh, I need to ask my deputy, I need to ask my clinical lead. The audit was done last month. I need to collate all of this together. Have a trail, have sequences in what you do. And that's why I emphasize on quality assurance and audit. It's knowing the basis of what is an audit. It is not a tick boxes process. It is what you've identified in simple word. You're assessing your system. You've identified the problem. You've evidenced what you've identified. You come up with an action plan and you've got a time scale. I'm saying it because for us, this is what we do on a daily basis, on a minutes basis. But this is the basis of an audit. If you get that wrong, you need to know, why am I auditing, for example, why do I need to do water temperatures? Well, it falls into health and safety executive requirements, but it also falls into your safe, Chloe, requirement. Are your premises safe? So this is why you are doing all of this. And it's understanding the process of quality assurance and making it robust for yourself. We go into care homes and we see a lot of folders, probably a full filing cabinet. But then you can't find the basic audit that they've done because there's too much. Or they are using a lot of care management software system out there, but they're not using it the right way. That's my advice. Get the basic right.
Thank you very much, Patricia. And thank you, Tony, for coming on Fulcrum Care. It's really been helpful. I mean, I think there's lots to go on this. And as we transition and so many things coming up, the new LPS, all these sorts of things, there will be continuous changes. So thank you. They have left their details in the chat room. And by all means, you can get hold of Peter and I if you need to get in touch with them or themselves directly. So thank you very much for coming on board.
You're welcome. Thanks for the opportunity.
And Dudley, do you want to do your piece on?
Yeah, I mean, I will do. I mean, so moving on, I was just at the Health Plus Care show, a sort of national show for sort of health and social care sector. And one of the things I'm sure we're all very aware of is the digitalization of health and social care, which has been moving at a very full speed. There are lots of new suppliers of digital software, and it's indicative of what's happening at the moment in social care. I'm sure you're aware there is a £150 million war chest of money which has been made available for providers such as yourselves to actually upskill or get more transform into more digitalized sort of business. And I think that's what the sector is looking at. It's quite evident when the Department of Health and Social Care is providing this money, it gives you an idea of where they're heading to. One of the things that I've looked at, and I've been involved with various providers of care management software, is that from the beginning, that ones which are accredited by the NHSX, which there is a list of 8 providers who you can look on. And there are so many things and plus points. They say that potentially up to 50% of the sector is still paper-based, and there's nothing wrong with using paper, but as we move forward, where information has been shared fairly quickly, rapidly, actually being digitalized really helps to share information and get up to speed. We know local authorities are asking information fairly quickly, CQC are asking for documents, and actually being able to access things when you're away from the work environment is also a lot easier when you have a digital platform or system in place. So these are sort of the wonderful benefits that you can have from there. Also, the other thing I would turn around and say, you know, less time and stress is spent on a lot of the bureaucracy and red tape, and actually getting through things with your software does help. So please do look into it. One of the areas I would turn around and say is do speak and look out for various, or for the providers out there, suppliers out there, should I say, providing software. The final thing I would really add to this is really hugely important, is do look for your local authorities, because they are providing funding. Yes, funding, which means that you potentially get the software for free, or at least up to 80 to 90% of your costs paid for. So you lose nothing by trying it out and see how it works. So please do speak to your local authority and do ask them, is there any funding for any digital transformation available? So it could be software packages, it could be other elements that are coming in. It's really hugely important, because now is a time to actually jump on board and actually transform your workplace. Looking into things such as your digital footprint, but also as well, we know that upskilling your staff is important, really digital literacy, so getting people to learn. And a lot of people turn around and say they don't want to actually become digital because they're scared, they're not sure what to do and how it would actually work. So there are lots of training and things on offer being sent out, not just by Skills for Care. You can see lots of things probably locally as well. So please do have a look at that. I think it's hugely important, and there are many people who you can speak to with us as well. We can send you case scenarios and actually people who actually have used it and have been doing it, and give you an insight. You don't just have to choose straight away. And there's also trialing as well, which is really important as well. So really do take advantage of this, because you'll be kicking yourself once, you know, everyone starts moving forward, and we actually will gather that it may be more costly for you. Peter, I'm not sure if you want to add anything around.
Well, I think the software thing, not wishing to labour a point, but you're going to have to, I think it's 2024 that it will be a requirement that CQC will be able to access remotely. So you'll have to have it by then. Certainly the new system that CQC are looking at, that we've seen the draft of, which will come in 2023, that is very much more a hands-off remote. And Tony used the word risk. That is a key. That's the key word to keep in your focus, is risk. But CQC will expect to be able to do things remotely. And if they find that what they get to remotely is acceptable, they won't come and inspect, because your risk is low. And I think Dudley has also had this problem. I've had people contact me asking me that what can I recommend by way of a piece of software? And when I talk to them and I ask them what they've already got, I find that they've already got a piece of software that will do whatever they want to buy something else to do, but they've simply bought it to do a rota or bed planning, whatever it is, but it's got other facilities which they've never actually looked at. So they're thinking of buying something else, spending more money to have yet another piece of kit that they've already got something that does that. And again, in the recent conversations with local authorities about efficiencies, and this relates straight into fair price for care, they expect people to have proper overheads. And although they're frequently criticised for wanting a 2% margin or something ridiculous like that, most of the commissioners, there are some very sensible, very well-trained and highly intelligent people there who look for sustainability. And part of that is having the right overhead costs and the right spread. And also it comes back to the right training on board, because most local authorities don't really care whether you have system X or system Y. What they want is the right data, the right information. And some of them are finding that at the moment, they're not getting that data simply because the system is in place. It's just not being used properly. So it's back to people like Dudley to ensure that the training is actually there, and that people have the IT ability, the IT skills within the organisation, and that they're being properly supervised. And that leads into the deadly subject of data, of confidentiality and GDPR. But I mean, Dudley will give you chapter and verse on how to look at software. Don't just buy something, look at something and then use that as a comparison. But Dudley will give you a huge amount of information there. And it's taking your business forward. It's an investment in the future. It's about sustainability.
I mean, thanks for that, Peter. I think one of the things that happens with software, actually, once you start using it, you realize, why wasn't I using it for such a long time? So it's an area that you should all look at, but I would advise anyone, any provider there, to actually speak to their local authority and really have a look on what is actually being offered in regards to funding in that space. It's really hugely important to take, because once the funding comes and goes just like that. And as Vincent earlier mentioned, that things come to the end of a lifespan and then you have to wait again and wait in the queue. So grab it whilst it's gone, otherwise it may not come back. So thank you for that. Peter, I want to touch on another area briefly as well. I've been doing a lot of work from the beginning of the year, some painful, some interesting, with the overseas workforce and HCAs. And I think it's really become a minefield, and lots of providers have been applying for their COSs and certificates to actually get the workforce over. I think that is down to the Home Office, and there's been some delays on that. So please do continue. I've been working with some overseas workforces and really have been trying to tailor a good quality of staff with some good background and knowledge. I will be in time running some sort of speed dating style interviews for providers who actually come on board. The interest has been a lot of nurses who would be coming as the nurses over here are going to be coming in from the HCA's point of view. So they've got the medical knowledge already and the clinical knowledge, and they have had some overviews in regards to the care certificate. So please, any providers, do be in touch. There's a company that I've been working with, but please do be in touch with me. We do have access to various solicitors as well in regards to that, so we can signpost you to that. We've actually been working with the Home Office. So please do. So getting the workforce and getting things in the right way is really important. So there are various things, before I go, that Peter will touch on. I know we've got a meeting coming up next month. So any area that you may be concerned about, please let us know. Peter's obviously put in the chat, right, in regards to Living Wage Foundation. So in regards to pay and the fair cost of living, we know at the moment is really hurting a lot of us. So looking at things which can be done is important. It's not just food banks, many discounts or discount sites, we can signpost you to that as well.
Okay, thanks, Dudley. On the Living Wage Foundation, LCaS has been asked to be part of the Mayor of London's initiative around getting providers to, or companies, organisations, to pay the Living Wage Foundation rates. And social care is one of their particular targets. And as yet, we don't know a great deal about it, but we will learn more later this month and then run on from there. But it does seem to be a useful tool for retention of staff. But again, we've talked to local authorities because many of you receive rates that don't enable you to pay what we would see as sensible hourly rates or weekly rates, because you don't get the right fees from local authorities. And one other thing that's coming through, and Dudley will have touched on this, and both of us have worked in the area, it's the health and well-being of social care staff. There are some really good portals available, particularly the South East London one and the North West London one. Both of them have got vast resources, and we would implore you to get the information, get the portal details to your staff, because there's vast amounts of information there. It's free. They've got telephone helplines, they've got chat lines, multiple languages. There's all sorts of stuff on there about, even down to helping with family finance, how to budget, how to deal with landlord problems, abuse of children, abuse of women, all sorts of stuff on there. It's confidential, it's free, it's a very, very good resource. And it's funded by the NHS, but they have put a huge amount of time and effort. And I think Dudley can reinforce that, because he's done a pile of work on the BAME side with them as well. And he's still not got any grey hairs.
I mean, just to finish off, we also have been working with providers and put together a raft of sort of training in regards to what works for social care, because one of the things we found, there was a difference between social care and NHS. So trying to offer out things which is more beneficial for all of us in social care. So please do get in touch and do look out for some of the training coming near to you soon.
Okay, I've got nothing else to say apart from the next meeting is on June the 15th, and we have the DHSC coming, and that's really around what might have been PHE at one point. We want to look at the way infection protection and control are going towards next winter, and a few other topics as well. So we're talking to them in the next few days to build up the agenda for that meeting. And if you've got any points, as Dudley has said, please do come back to us. If the topics you want to get covered, we're aware that the LPS is causing some issues. Again, Skills for Care will do a lot on that, and we will get somebody in to cover that for you as well, various other things. I'm not quite sure, my apologies that Purple Tribe weren't with us this morning. I'm not quite sure why. There was a last minute problem, but we will get them back. And many people have used their employment recruitment service and find it very useful. So if there's nothing else, thank you very much for attending, and look forward to seeing you in June, and stay safe until then. Dudley.
Thank you, everyone. Everyone, do enjoy the break next weekend, and it's the Jubilee. So if you have any client service users, please, I hope you've got something well planned and enjoy it. And if not, if anything, if you possibly can, anyone who has a few days off, make the most of it. Thank you, everyone.
Cheers. Bye now. Bye.